You gave somebody a bigger job because their work was good. And that's not a bad reason. For a long time, it was a reliable one. But there is a problem with it now. And let's have a look what changed. The work can be excellent, and you still might not know whether the person can handle the job you just gave them. Because what they produced may no longer tell you what it used to tell you about the person who produced it. And that matters every time you promote somebody, hand over a bigger account, or put a name on a succession plan. That's something most a competitor pushes a launch bag, maybe, or a customer number comes in at half what was forecast. And the person who was completely ready can't tell you what they will do about it. What they are going to do is going back to the document. The conclusion everyone draws is that in the room is they were not ready, and I don't think that that's what happened. The evidence you used was good evidence a few years ago. Now it is becoming a weaker evidence, and nothing told you it had changed. So by the end of this, you will have one question about that tells you the difference between you made the decision instead of after it. Inside a conversation, probably you're already having that. But start with the part that's easy to skip. The work really was good all year, 12 months of it. So why didn't it tell you that you can't promote them? Think about what a piece of monthly work used to require before. Say our market brief or for leadership, competitors pricing, where customers are moving. A few years ago, what it was looking like, somebody most of a week and almost none of that week was just typing. What they were doing actually, they had to find the sources and then notice that two of them disagreed and decide which one they can trust. They had to work out which signals actually mattered to us and which were only interesting. And they also had to know what we could realistically do about any of it. Then they had to stand in a room and say what they thought. That may be small judgments, and the only way to get to the end of the week was to make these judgments. So a good brief was never just a good brief at that time. It was somebody actually was working who had been forced to build a working understanding of the market. In reality, one judgment at a time, whether they enjoyed it or not, they were doing that. That's what you are promoting on, not the document they presented to you, yes? The week behind it and everything they had to decide to get through it. That was the part of the work they were doing. Now the work arrives faster and it reads better, and that's generally good. I'm, of course, not arguing against that. But the judgments are no longer there. Some of them still get made. Plenty of people work through every one of those decisions with AI besides them and come out understanding more than they did before. Some get made partly and some don't get made at all because nothing in the process requires them any more. So all three of those produce good work. Now, which one, three of those three you are going to choose? So it may be somebody who built the whole understanding or half of it or validator of it, and you can't tell which by looking at it, the thinking behind. That's what changed. Not the quality went up. What you lost is what the quality used to prove before. And there are two different things here. And we have never had to separate them because they always arrive together. The first one is delivery. Can this person produce the work? That you can see clearly. The second one is capability. Can this person handle the job when the situation is not the one they are prepared for? That you can see. And it was never written down anywhere. And it didn't need to be because delivery used to guarantee it. Now delivery is easy and capability is invisible. And every promotion, every larger account, every name on a succession is a bet on the second one. Nobody gives somebody a better or bigger job so they can keep doing the same task under the same conditions. You do it because you think they can handle the version of the job you have not seen yet. So the move, it's small enough to use this week. Take a piece of work they have already finished, something that went well, whatever was decided in it, done, and we are not reopening it, we are borrowing it. Then change one condition, one that actually matters. We went into that market. Suppose the biggest competitor had delayed 6 months. What would you have done? Suppose the customer numbers come back at half. What do you do now? Or for example, that dependency doesn't clear this quarter. What's your call on that? One condition, then you can wait and stop talking. Change one condition, watch what moves. Now, what are you listening for? 3 things in this order. What changes first? What still holds? And what you would need to go and find out before you could decide. Notice what's not on that list. The right answer is not on it. You are not asking them to be correct standing there. And it doesn't matter if the first thing they say turns out to be wrong. That's not what we're looking for. You're watching whether the change travels. Somebody who built the understanding will work it through in front of you. They will tell you what's still true regardless. They will tell you what they would need to check before they would be willing to say. They might pause, might change their mind about what they said within a few seconds because they're figuring it out. And none of that is weakness. That's what thinking sounds like when you can hear it happening. Somebody who has finished the work but not the understanding usually does one of 3 things. They go back to the document or to the tool before they can say anything. Or they give you the same answers as before, even though the ground under has moved and they're still relying on that. Or something moves, but not the part the change should have touched. And you will usually know which one you are inside 2 or 3 minutes. Now, everything I have said so far is only half of it, and it's the easier half. Yes, because if all you do is change a condition and watch somebody struggle, you have not managed anything. You have run a test, and a test that tells you somebody is not ready and does nothing else. It's just a slower way of promoting them. The same few minutes are where you build it. And it means you need to build the capability more before you promote. When the chain doesn't travel, you don't correct the answer and move on. You show them the connection they missed. What did that customer assumption actually hold up? Why did your call stay the same when the demand number moved? And which part of this should have shifted first? If we look carefully at this, that's not coaching in the sense of a development plan or just a quarterly review, just a few seconds, you can say, or maybe a few minutes on their own work about a real thing while it's still in front of both of you, and it's really going to help you to build their capability. And that's the bit that used to happen when producing the brief. Force of thinking, the person got built by doing the work, and nobody had to think about it. Now, work can get done without building anybody. That's the problem. So, building people had become something you do on purpose, or something that doesn't happen. You have to pay attention to that, which means this is not really a screening question at all. In spotting where the capability is thin is the first half. Building it in the same conversation is the second. A manager who can only do the first one is just running an assessment, and a manager who can do both is developing a team while the work still gets delivered. And if we look at the second part, that second half is also what you are looking for in the person you are about to promote, that capability. Not whether they know the market, whether they can see what's changed and decide what to do about it. And they do, and then do that for somebody else like this. And one thing this must not turn into. It is not an examination. You're not catching anybody out here. Focus on the purpose. And if it starts to feel like that, it shouldn't. You're not asking them to prove which parts they wrote. That's not the purpose at all. And you're not asking them to work without AI even. And you shouldn't want either. And one conversation doesn't settle what somebody is capable of. It gives you just a piece of evidence you don't have, and a chance to close the gap you found. That is your responsibility as a manager, as a developer, as a leader. There's a second thing this finds, and it gets talked about far less. Everything so far has been about somebody who looked ready and was not, and there's a different person on your team. The work is rougher. It arrives less polished, sitting next to the work that AI helped somebody else produce. It looks weaker. Now you can't decide on that look. And they may be the one who can actually tell you what to do when the situation moves. Those are the parts we need to pay attention to. You won't find them in their reports either, the same signal that makes one person look stronger, and then there are signals that make somebody else look weaker than they are. And this is going to fail in both directions, and it fails quietly, which is the part that costs you. Now, why this is not a next year problem? You're not about to start making decisions on this. You have been making them all year. Who got the bigger account, who is on the succession, who went in front of client on their own, whose name didn't come up in March. Those are made already. They were made on evidence that had already vacant. Somebody is in the seat because of it, and somebody else was passed over because of it, and neither of those is easy to walk back. The cost is not waiting in the future, it's sitting in the last two review cycles, and every quarter this goes unlooked at. Most of them get made the same way. And there's a version of this our leaders should worry about. If your promotion cases are built mainly out of finished work, your succession plan is not telling you who can handle more complexity. It's just telling you who produced the strongest work under conditions that already knew. Those are not the same thing, and the gap doesn't show up anywhere. The work keeps improving in appearance, the performance records stay green, the plan looks deeper than it is. And you find out on that day something unfamiliar happens in a room with a client sitting there. So do the small thing, one finished piece of work, change one condition, ask what they would do. Then when something doesn't move, show them why. Not as a process, not a new review step. It's not a conversation you were already having. And output tells you what they produced. Change tells you what they can do. And that is the important part. What you do in the next few seconds is what decides whether they can do more of it next time or not. And that used to be look after itself. It doesn't know, and nobody's going to tell you when it stops. You need to pay attention to that. A better report is not a stronger bench.